Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to float a highlight. In my last video, I used water as my floating medium, but someone asked me about this, and I did have it, so I thought I would show you how to use it. It's called Folkart Floating Medium, makes floating color easy, and I'll have to say it is easier than water. I just learned how to do floating with water way back in the day, so I have a feel for it. But if anybody wants to purchase this, I think Michael's carries it, and you can get it on Amazon, but I checked the price and it's a little bit more on Amazon than it is at Michael's. So it's kind of like a gel. So I'm gonna put it in a cup, or a little cup here, container, because when you put it on your palette, it's kind of hard to see unless you get it right in the light. I always float with an angled shader brush, but you can use a flat brush too that doesn't have an angle. I just like the angle better. But I always wet my brush first before I ever paint or do anything. I wet my brush and then I dry it out. So I've got a damp brush, but it doesn't have like any excess water in it. And so I'm going to dip it in the floating medium, and I'm going to work that into my brush. And for the pumpkins and the truck, we're going to use burnt umber as our shading color. So you get the floating medium in your brush, and I use burnt umber. Any brand is fine. You put a little bit on your palette, and I'll show you how to work it in there. So you get the floating medium on your brush, and then you dip the tip, whether it's a flat brush that doesn't have a tip or a angled shader like this, it doesn't matter. You just dip the tip into the burnt umber, and then you work it in your brush. You want to work it in your brush. And what it's doing is that brown is kind of moving about halfway across your brush, and that's where you want it. You want it about halfway across your brush, and then the rest is just the medium. Okay. So let's do this little pumpkin first. I'm going to go right here with my tip of the brush and touch that score line and just float that shadow down, and I don't have enough paint. So I'm going back and I'm picking up a little bit more paint. And just brush it down. Touch and pull is all you do. And if you have room to lay your brush all the way down, you can. But on some of these tinier pieces, you just have to work with the tip of your brush. Now I'm going to turn it upside down so it's easier for me to float. So I'm going to go back and get some more of my medium. You want to keep your brush wet with the medium, and then dip the tip into the burnt umber. Work it into your brush. Touch and pull. It got a little heavy there. I'm going to go back over that because it's a little heavy. So now we have a shadow in all the ridges of our pumpkin. Isn't that pretty? Okay, let's do these pumpkins up here. So every ridge will have a little shadow. I'm going to go back to my palette where I have this excess, and I'm just going to work some more of it into my brush. In my mind, I'm picturing where the shadows would be. In a fat pumpkin, I'm just picturing where the shadows would be. The shading there makes that ridge look, that part of the pumpkin look fatter. And then this would be casting a little bit of a shadow in that ridge, a little bit of shadow in that ridge. That's how I decide where to put it. I'm not going to shade here because this is where the light would be hitting the pumpkin. So I'm not going to shade there. I picked up a little bit more of the medium with the paint. There would be a shadow right there. Maybe a little bit there. There would definitely be one there. With the floating medium, a little bit goes a long way. It seems to stay in your brush really good because it's like a gel. So you just dip that tip in brown, but don't dip your tip and then go straight to your project and shade, or you're gonna get this problem. See that? That's way too dark. You don't want that. So I'm gonna take a baby wipe and wipe that off. That's why you work the paint into your brush on your palette. So you get some medium, work that into your brush, get some paint, work that into your brush. Don't ever go straight to your project with fresh paint on the edge and you haven't worked it into your brush. See how that's not too dark now? Okay. Now, on the truck, I'm going to put a shadow all the way around what would be the door jamb of the truck. So I'm going to turn this over upside down so I can get to it better. And I'm going to run a shadow all the way up this line. I've got to get some more medium and burnt umber. Lay your brush down and pull. Don't be afraid, because you saw me when I messed up. I wiped it off with a baby wipe. I just picked up some more medium. I'm picking up a little bit more paint in the edge of my brush, working it into my brush. I'm going to set the tip right here on the door jamb. I got a lot of medium in my brush right now, so it's really slick, not much paint. So I'm going to go back and get a little bit more paint. The more you do it, the more you'll get a feel for it But it's better to err on the side of not enough paint than too much paint. Let's see. There would definitely be a shadow in here. I'm going to wash my brush. Sometimes you have to wash your brush out and start over because your burnt umber will travel all the way across your brush. So when you lay it down to shade, you've got too much shadow color. It gets too far over because you only want it about halfway or the first third of your brush to have color in it when you're floating. Otherwise, it puts down too much. It put down too much right here, but it's okay because this is going to be on top of that. You'll never see it. If that was not going to be that way, I would take a baby wipe and wipe it off. Okay, so I'm picking up medium in my brush, working it into my brush on my palette, picking up just a smidge of burnt umber, work it into my brush just by swiping it on the palette. See, now it's just on the first third of my brush, which is where I wanted it. There would always be a shadow there. That's the back side of the truck, so the sun wouldn't be hitting there. We're going to run a shadow all the way across here. I got to get some more medium. You want your brush wet with the medium and just a little bit of paint on the edge of your brush. And to try to get it all to blend cohesively, it's best if you do it all in one swipe or go back and forth the way I'm doing right now. Okay, I'm going to get some more medium on my brush because I want this to really flow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a shadow all the way around where the fenders are going to be, because it'll really give it a 3D look when it has a shadow behind there. Now, you don't have to do any of this. It just sets your work apart when you do it. So you don't have to feel pressured to do any of this when you're painting my files or anybody else's. You don't have to paint like the creator did. You could just paint it solid and it would be cute. It would be very cute, just painted solid. So never feel like you have to do this. This is just if you want to take your painting up a notch. This is how you do it. When you add shading and highlight to a project, it just always brings it more to life. It gives it more character. Okay. Oh, I forgot the fenders. I want to shade the fenders. I'm going to run a shadow all the way around the bottom part of the fenders. And we'll be done. So I'm getting some more medium in my brush. Getting some more paint on the tip. Work it into my brush over here on the side. Lay my brush down and swipe. A little more paint. Lay my brush down with the brown touching the edge. Swipe. That is floating a shadow. I'm sorry if I didn't get that all in frame. Let me get the other one. What did I do with it? There it is. Let me make sure this is in frame. I'm sorry if the other one was not. Okay, medium in my brush. You want a good amount. Dip the tip of it in brown or burnt umber. Swipe, swipe, swipe. If you think you've got too much, you can always do what I just did. I swiped one time on a piece of paper just to make sure I didn't have too much. Okay. There you go. All shaded. And see how pretty it's going to be when we put it together. It's going to look like an old-timey truck. So that's how you float shadows. Thanks for watching.